tell you some entertaining things about how to prevent family feuds. So, the way I'm going to do that is tell you some of my war stories that I can get in 15 minutes. But there's 3 things I want you to take away today. 3 things you need to do to prevent family feuds. Number 1, plan. Number 2, treat your children equally. And number 3, communicate. Okay? So plan. Let me tell you what is not a plan. You are going to die in your sleep the day you spend your last dime. That is not a plan. That is not going to happen. Let me tell you what else is not a plan. You've got the one child that you think is the most responsible. Wait a minute, adult child. Adult child. Is that an oxymoron? Adult child. Every time, we are adults, right? I'm an adult. I'm about to be 57. I'm an adult. I can manage my life on my own. But when I'm with my parents, I'm happy for them to be mom and dad and for me to be the child. We are all children inside. So, it's not a good plan to leave one child to handle everything while you're alive and when you die. So let's think about this. That's a child. Picture that child as 5 years old, okay? Picture all of your money as cookies. Okay, here's a plate of my cookies. Here you go. I want you to hold on to these cookies. I want you to take care of them for me. And when I'm gone, I want you to share them equally with your brothers and sisters. Okay. So now you've got that 5-year-old holding on to a plate of cookies for a long time. And maybe that 5-year-old is really good and has got a lot of self-control. But by the time you die and they're handing out the cookies, they're getting crumbs on themselves. Oh, you got crumbs on yourselves. How many cookies have you been eating? I didn't eat any cookies. Well, I remember when we were kids, you did too, and you took my cookies. So just don't do that. And the other reason you need to plan is you don't know now we're going to get into the negative part. You don't know when the car accident's going to happen. You don't know when the brain tumor is going to happen. So I have one story, perfectly good family, but boy, Dad didn't want to plan, and he didn't want to put that in writing, and he hated lawyers, and he just wasn't going to do it. And then Mom had a sudden car accident. Okay, well, he still wasn't going to do it because it was going to go to all of his kids. And then he developed the brain tumor, and that's where the con artists came in. They are everywhere. She married him in the hospital. She took the family home. She took all of the money and got it all and gave it all to her kids, so then she didn't have it. And then enter the lawyers. The attorney's fees on that case were $500,000. Because those kids were not going to let their mother's money be taken by that con artist who took advantage of their dad. Now, one of the reasons that she was able to do that was because Dad hadn't put anything in writing. He hadn't said that he trusted his kids to help him with things. They didn't have any evidence of what he wanted. So write it down right. You got a plan. Now, kids. People are kids. And I can tell you right now, all of us equate love with money. And by God, they'll prove to the world that you love them if you don't treat them equally. You've just got to think about that. Now, when I say treat them equally, I'm talking about the money. If you say, well, this child did more for me, I'm going to give them more. Well, the other kids aren't going to understand that. Give them more privately. Don't put in a will that you get 80% and you get 20%. Because that will has to be filed in probate court. It is now public, and you've told the world, this one is 80%, this one's 20%. So they will prove that that's wrong. So don't do that. But let's be realistic about our kids. They don't like each other. So if I'm in a meeting and I have the adult children in there, or we're talking about mom, dad, what to do, and if I need to get up and leave, sometimes I come back, and have you ever seen that Facebook video with those two little cats, and they're just going at each other? I'll walk back in the room, and I swear fur was flying, and everything's fine. No, they're just kids. Be realistic about that, which means don't make them get along. if they didn't get along before, they aren't going to get along now. So I recently had another situation. The mom is still alive. It turned into a guardianship, all because mom and dad were determined that those kids were going to get along. 5 minutes in a room with those three. Everybody knows they don't get along. So what they do, they named them as co-agents on every document and said they had to act unanimously. So what happened? We had to get guardianship over mom because they couldn't agree on how to spend the money. They're fighting. They got cameras up on each other. They're claiming each other's drugging mom and doing all this stuff. Family is completely torn apart because mom and dad were determined to make them get along. Well, just be realistic. Name somebody outside the family if you have to. So here's another tip, and I don't mean to offend anybody, so you don't have to raise your hand if this is happening to you. If your 50-year-old moves back in with you, it's not for your benefit. So, it is staking a claim. We're staking a claim. Now, I'm being light about that, and there can be lots of reasons, and moving back in to help take care of you and keep you independent is a good thing. But sometimes we have to acknowledge our children have something a little bit off. Okay, so let's say you've acknowledged it, and you understand, all right, my son, he doesn't seem to be able to keep a job, and he's 50, so he isn't going to get any better about handling money. So I'm going to put his money in a trust. But I don't want to have to pay outside fees, so I'm going to name his sister to be in charge of that. Yes, she did. And so there were 3 kids. The 2 girls are getting theirs outright. Here's your money. His is held in trust with sister as trustee. Well, the messages he left for his sister would curl your hair. She had to get him moved out of the house so she could sell it and distribute and get his money. So he took all the appliances and took everything out of the house and threw them in the backyard. Okay, so we got him out of that house. Well, so he moved to the trailer out on the other property, and we had to evict him out of that. So he took with him the windows and the doors, and he left behind something that you shouldn't be leaving behind. And kept leaving messages for his sister. It turned into 4 lawsuits. At the end of the day, that $500,000 estate, each child got $30,000 from all that happened along the way. But that sister, she wouldn't give up. Mom said I needed to do this. Well, he wasn't going to give up either. So don't let that happen. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, that's not me. I was a perfect parent. My kids are perfect. And I know that's possible because I'm one of those perfect kids. Not going to fight with my sister. We are perfect. Nothing's going to happen. All right. You got to communicate with your kids. I know you don't want them to take over your lives. Believe me, they're too